guys heard about the man that volunteered to be eaten? He responded to a cannibalistic ad and he actually volunteered. His name was Armin, but online his name was Frankie, and in 2001 he posted this very disturbing ad. Shockingly, someone actually responded. Someone actually responded to this ad and volunteered. He responded with the words, "Please eat me."
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. I just want to thank all my supporters, man, who's coming back to the channel each and every single day, watching the videos entirely, man. Comment down below. Most importantly, hitting that thumbs up button on each and every single video drop. You guys are helping grow the community. I greatly appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Stay with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
Facts that will mess with your perception of time. Anne Frank and Martin Luther King would be the same age if they were alive today. Queen Elizabeth and Marilyn Monroe were both the same age as well. Here they are when they were both 30 years old meeting each other. George Washington died 25 years before the first dinosaur fossil was found. George Washington did not know about the existence of dinosaurs. Woolly mammoths were still walking around the earth 1,000 years after the pyramids were built. Also, Cleopatra was alive closer in time to the moon landings than the building of the Great Pyramid. NASA was already exploring space by the time scientists could agree on how plate tectonics worked. Follow for more.
Interesting. Okay.
A few days ago, I posted about this girl talking to her scary imaginary friend named Gilbert. Well, this is the follow-up story to that video. Apparently, her mother noticed her banging and singing on this floorboard, so when they uncovered it, they found something very, very terrifying related to Gilbert underneath it. I'm gonna roll the clip right now.
Check it out. What's in there? Monsters in the attic.
Looks like it comes up.
That's not weird at all. It's like fires. Oh, super hot. Is that a Ouija board? Hell no. Abort, abort. I'm out. They're touching it too. Some brave people, not me. We don't do that.
Have you guys heard about the man that volunteered to be eaten? He responded to a cannibalistic ad and he actually volunteered. His name was Armin, but online his name was Frankie, and in 2001 he posted this very disturbing ad. Shockingly, someone actually responded. Someone actually responded to this ad and volunteered. He responded with the words, "Please eat me," and this man actually went to Armin's home in Germany to meet up and do whatever they discussed online. The most disturbing thing is that both of them knew what was about to happen, and they even recorded the whole process, which I've seen the crime photos and it's super duper duper disturbing, especially when you see the video he posted. So what happened next is too disturbing. I can't show you guys, but I will say that the details are a bit graphic. He amputated his body and they even tried to eat a part of him. Both of them together tried to eat a part of him. After that, he was unalived and he butchered his body and put it in the freezer, labeling it as pork. The only reason why he was caught in the first place was because he posted another ad looking for his next meal. The people who saw this footage say that it's one of the most horrifying things they've ever watched and they are scarred for life. Some say this man is still alive and that he doesn't regret what he did. He said it wasn't murder, he said it was his next meal. What do we think about this disturbing case?
A friend of mine lives in Chicago, and she and her husband thought they had a family of raccoons living in their attic because they kept hearing all of these sounds upstairs above their bedroom. One day my friend is home alone, her husband's out of town, and the sounds are particularly bad, worse than they've ever been before. And she's sitting there and she's like, what is going on? Like, what could like, there must be a million raccoons up in my attic. And so she decides to pull the access stairs down from the ceiling, and she's too frightened to go all the way up into the attic. Oh, she just crawls up 4 or 5 stairs and just sticks her arm up into the attic and just snaps a photograph. She pulls her phone down to see what's actually living there. Warning. This is what is on her phone screen.
What the?
Staring back at her. He was 7 feet away from her when she took this picture.
Can you imagine living in your house, you and your husband, you think it's just the two of you, and the entire time this man is living in your attic? This is the kind of stuff I truly fear. I can watch any horror movie, listen to any ghost story, but this kind of stuff I don't mess with. I can't do it. Anyways, so this woman ran out of the house. She called police. They came, took him out of there, and it looks like he was in that house for over a year. He would come down when the woman and the husband weren't home, and he would steal the husband's clothes, and they think that he was either selling it or wearing it. They don't really know. This is just a little reminder, if you move somewhere new, you might want to check the attic and all the rooms in the house, or you might find yourself in a situation like this in the middle of the night.
Noted. That ain't happening to me, Miss Seekers. I will be checking every inch if I go somewhere new, man. That's also one of my worst fears, man. You living in a house by yourself, there's somebody in there with you don't even know. You gotta be more aware, be vigilant.
TikTok influencer and her mom were recently sentenced to life in prison. This is 24-year-old Malg Bukhari, and she was a former TikTok influencer, and she was known for her makeup and lifestyle videos. She lived with her parents and her brother in the UK. This is her mother, Ansareen Bukhari, and it oftentimes would come out in her videos. Ansareen was in a 3-year affair with 21-year-old Saqib Hussain, who she had met on a dating app. In January of 2022, Ansareen decided that she wanted to end the relationship with Saqib, and throughout the whole relationship, he had spent between 2,000 to 3,000 pounds on her, and in US dollars, that would be between maybe like 2.5 to $3.7 thousand. Saqib had sexually explicit photos and videos of the both of them, and he basically blackmailed her and threatened her that if she stopped talking to him, he was going to send those to her husband and her son. Malg was aware of the affair, and although she did not approve of it, she was just trying to tolerate it. On January 4th of 2022, Malg and Ansareen came up with a plan. So Malg had contacted Saqib, and she basically told him to give her the videos and photos, and he would get 3,000 pounds in return. Malg told Saqib to meet Ansareen in the parking lot of Tesco in Hamilton, Leicester, and to hand over his phone. And if he did not comply to this, they were going to give him a serious injury. On February 11th, Saqib and 21-year-old Hashim, who was his cousin / best friend, drove to the location together. When they both got to the location, they noticed that there was 2 cars waiting there for them, so that's when they decided to flee. Those 2 cars followed them and chased them at 100 miles per hour. They contacted 999, which is equivalent to 911 here in the United States, and they basically told dispatch that they were being chased, they were trying to run them off the road, and they feared that they were going to die. Then there is a scream before the call cuts out, and there is a loud bang. Up crashing, the car splits in half, and the car catches on fire. Saqib and Hashim were both killed at the scene. Police were able to refer to CCTV footage, and they were able to see the 2 cars and who was driving that other car. Police went to Malg and Ansareen's home, and when they were speaking to Malg, she was just lying to police to try and get out of this. Just this month, Malg was sentenced to 31 years and 8 months in prison, and Ansareen was sentenced to 26 years and 9 months.
This is why you should always know a preacher. A man named Jack went to church on Sunday. He sat next to the preacher and said that he needed to talk. The preacher asked what's wrong, and Jack says, I just can't do this anymore. The preacher says, can't do what anymore? Jack says, deal with my ex-wife. She's driving me crazy. The preacher says, what is she doing that's causing you to feel this way? Jack says, she's driving me insane. She's trying to take my kids away, and I can't let her do that. The preacher says, I understand, but you need to do things the legal way. There's not much I can do for you other than pray. Jack stops and looks at the preacher for a second. Jack. Jack says, lawyers can't help me, Father. The preacher says, why not? Jack says, my ex-wife is dead. I need an exorcist. If you guys want to see more stories like this, make sure to like and follow.
This is why babysitting always freaks me out. So in 2014, Sarah DeWalt was babysitting for a new family that had just moved into her neighborhood in Ohio. The family consisted of 2 young children under 10, but when Sarah showed up that night, the parents kept talking as if they had 3 children. There were 3 sets of pajamas laid out, there were 3 bowls of ice cream on the counter, but the family clearly only had the 2 kids. So that night, Sarah and the kids are winding down watching a movie when all of a sudden Sarah starts hearing noises in the house. There were footsteps shuffling like someone else was there, and she had this overwhelming feeling that she was being watched. So she gets up to check on the noise, but then the kids turn to her and say, "Oh, that's Bonnie, don't bother her." Sarah leaves it because she's freaked out, but then later that night she goes to check the nanny cam and she sees this image captured in the hallway. She stayed up until the parents came home, but she never went back after that.
Good for her, smart. Setting out 3s, man. And there was only 2 kids there.
This is Carla Nash. She literally had her face ripped off by Travis the chimp. People noticed that Travis the chimp became way more irritable after they took him off his medication for his Lyme disease. But nobody expected when Carla picked up his Tickle Me Elmo toy for him to rip her face off and dismember her body. There is a 911 audio call between Sandra Harold and a dispatcher and her begging them to come out and kill the monkey because he's dismembering her friend. Carla had to undergo 72 hours of surgery and an experimental face transplant surgery. This left her completely blind for life. When police arrived on the scene, one of them shot Travis the chimp and then he died later right next to his cage. But the damage was already done. Carla was already disfigured and nearly dead. In my next video, I'm going to be playing audio clips from the 911 call between Sandra and the dispatcher. Stay tuned for that.
There are some crazy things happening in the world right now. Fireball is offering a lifetime supply of their whiskey only to their fans that are over 90 years old. NASA found a diamond in space that is 5 times bigger than Earth. The amount of money that was spent on GTA 6 is more than it took to build the tallest building in the world. Zoos are now giving guests special glasses to avoid eye contact with gorillas. An AI applied to the art school in Vienna successfully. A mini dachshund named Valerie survived on a remote island in Australia for over a year by herself. A hawk terrorized a bald man for weeks, and a falconer told him that it was just hormonal. A man was ticketed in Montreal just minutes after his parking spot turned into a bus stop. A 71-year-old man was arrested after police found 7 emotional support tigers inside his house. NASA is offering $3 million to anyone who can recycle 96 bags of astronaut poop on the moon. Police are investigating whether a foster mom in Missouri traded a child for a monkey to grow her exotic pet collection.
Can you believe that this was almost the Ghostface mask for Scream? While scouting out locations for the first Scream movie, they stumbled upon a mask in an abandoned house. It was produced by a company named Fun World, and it was called the Peanut-Eyed Ghost. Well, Fun World wanted a little bit too much money for them to use their mask, so they went to the drawing boards. Here are just a few of the concepts that they drew up. Quite different, huh? They were eventually able to come to an agreement, and thus one of the most iconic horror masks of all time was born. This may look like a Wish.com Michael Myers mask, but it's actually from the original movie. 43 years ago, they painted a Captain Kirk mask white, and now we have one of the most iconic horror killers ever. I'm actually impressed with how well it held up over that long.
Imagine waking up at night to this figure being in your bedroom. Between 1957 and 1971, that was a terrifying reality for those living on the Channel Island of Jersey. Edward Paynell was your everyday family man. He had a wife, children, and even dressed up as Santa Claus for foster home orphans during Christmas. But when he donned his horrific mask, he became the Beast of Jersey. He preyed upon women and children, entering their bedrooms through open windows and committing unspeakable acts on his victims. His reign of terror came to an end in 1971 when he was convicted on 13 counts of rape, sexual assault, and sodomy against 6 of his victims. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison, but disturbingly was released after 20 for good behavior in 1991, dying of a heart attack 3 years later.
Forbidden places that you
Crazy.
can never visit. Snake Island is an island off of the coast of Brazil filled with deadly snakes. Rising sea levels caused this piece of land to become an island, allowing for the snakes to flourish in their own environment. There are now up to 5 snakes every square meter, and you are not allowed to go here. In Svalbard, Norway, there is a global seed vault, aka the Doomsday Vault. It is the world's seed bank, storing samples of crops from all over the world just in case of a global catastrophe. The tomb of Qin Shi Huang in China holds an army of warriors made of clay. It protects the burial spot of the first emperor of China who died in 210 BC, and we only discovered this tomb in 1974. Paveglia Island in Italy was used to exile hundreds of thousands of victims of the plague. It is said to be one of the most haunted places on Earth, and a dark local legend says that 50% of the soil is made up of human remains. Follow for more.
We ain't going there. Except Mr. Beast, he went to Snake Island though, so he dropped the video when he went to Snake Island, man. So that was actually.
Was this the worst form of medieval punishment? If you found yourself as a prisoner in a medieval castle, you may be subject to the dungeon, torture, or even execution. But what could be worse? Well, let me tell you about the oubliette, also known as the Forgotten Room. This was a specialized type of prison in some medieval castles, perhaps for the worst of offenders. It was a narrow shaft, sometimes 8 feet deep, with only one entrance and exit, a trapdoor located on the ceiling. The shaft being so narrow that the individual would be forced to stand. They couldn't kneel, they couldn't sit, they could barely turn around. The fall alone into the oubliette would sometimes break bones. In some cases, these would even be built into the upper walls of the castle, so the victim could hear the hustle and bustle of castle life, but could not escape. Depending on the situation or individual, they might throw you some food and water if you were to be kept alive. In most cases, you were subject to stand there, starve to death, and then be devoured by vermin. The most you could do was stand there, look up at the grate, and realize you cannot escape. Oh yeah, did I also mention sometimes jagged stones would be placed at the bottom? And of course, you were also subject to stand in your own waste. Lep Castle, which is located in Ireland, had quite an active oubliette. So many skeletons were discovered in one in the 1920s that it took 3 cartloads to transport them off the property. Between the sleep deprivation, the starvation, the psychological torture, and the claustrophobia, I think this is the worst form of medieval torture.
She was killed by her own people. This is what happened to 30-year-old Annie Mae Aquash. Annie Mae was born on March 27, 1945, and was born into the Mikwok First Nation. Annie Mae was a part of the American Indian movement, and she was just extremely passionate about human rights and the preservation of tribal communities. She was a mother of 2, so she was fighting for her children's safety and future. Throughout her time with the American Indian movement, she was arrested on federal weapons-related charges, but she was quickly released. She was arrested for a second time in November of 1975. However, she was released just 10 days later on November 25th. Due to how quickly she was released, some members of the American Indian movement started to believe that maybe she was working as an informant for the FBI, and that's why she was released so quickly. The last time anyone saw Annie Mae was in the middle of December, and then just 2 months later, on February 24th, 1976, a farmer in South Dakota stumbled upon a frozen, badly decomposed body. His farm was located along the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, and this corpse was wearing blue jeans, a maroon jacket, and they were laying with their knees pushed up all the way to their chest. Police were called to the scene, and a coroner determined that this was a woman and that they had been dead for more than 2 months. Due to the condition of the body, it took a little bit over a week for police to identify this corpse as 30-year-old Annie Mae Aquash. Initially, they believed that she died of exposure, that she froze to death. They buried her, and that was that. When her family and friends heard the news about her death, they were just completely shocked. They were trying to figure out what had happened since the last time she was seen in December to when her body was found in February. I mean, what happened in those 2 months? They just had a gut feeling that something more had happened. They requested a second autopsy. They exhumed her body, and this new autopsy revealed that Annie Mae had a gunshot wound to the back of her head. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't the consequence of exposure. Annie Mae was murdered. Her friends and family initially believed that maybe the FBI had done this to silence her. However, it was later revealed that no, the FBI didn't do this. Instead, she was kidnapped, R-worded, and unalived on December 12, 1975 by by 3 members of the American Indian movement. Her family just couldn't believe that she was betrayed by those she trusted and by people she believed had her back. As of today, someone has been convicted for the murder of Annie Mae and has been sentenced to life in prison, but were more people involved? Her family believes that maybe higher level officials at the American Indian movement could have ordered her death because they truly believed that she was an FBI informant. It's been nearly 30 years since Annie Mae, a mother, a sister, a beloved friend, a human being, was killed. To hear more about what happened to Annie Mae, make sure to watch Vow of Silence on Hulu to uncover the truth, and let me know what you guys think about this down below.
Gotta watch your own people, man. It's a sad reality of this world, man.
This is a true horrifying story, part 78. This story took place in Tilburg, Netherlands in the year 2020. Ibrahim, a man that was 23 years old back in 2020. Ibrahim is originally Iraqi, but he was born and raised in Netherlands. One night, Ibrahim got a call from his ex-girlfriend, a Dutch girl that he hasn't seen in over 2 years. She told him she wanted to hang out, and she asked if she can come over, and he said yes. When she arrived, Ibrahim and this girl go to the bedroom and they do the dirty. After they were done, she took her things and she left. This is a crucial point in Islam. When you do the dirty with a girl, even if you've done it the halal way with your wife, there is something you must do afterwards called the ghusl. The ghusl is known as a washing or cleansing procedure. If you did not perform the ghusl after finishing what you did, you are not permitted to pray or even touch the Quran. Your body will be considered najis. And when you are najis, you are more prone to jinn possessions and you will attract jinns to your household. After this girl left, Ibrahim did not shower, he did not clean himself, he went straight to bed. As he was falling asleep, his body went through sleep paralysis. He figured it could have been a normal paralysis cycle, but this one in particular is not normal at all. Ibrahim was fully aware of his surroundings as this was happening. He felt that his mattress was slowly being lifted up in the air, and then he felt something pushing him deep into the mattress. Right then, he knew that this was a Jathum. In intense fear, this was happening for 5 minutes straight. He started to recite Ayatul Kursi, and as he was reciting, he saw a face that he was not able to describe to me. He cannot even draw it down. That face was something sinister. He felt that even the Quran recitation was not helping. This is how crucial your ghusl is in Islam. Moments later, the mattress falls down in its place and Ibrahim was able to move. He was crying heavily as he was running out of his home. He gets in his car and he quickly drives to his mother's house. For days straight, Ibrahim was crying from this trauma. He was not able to eat, he was not able to sleep. And the day he went back to his place, he felt the presence of that sinister being even days after he was gone.
Still there?
What would you do if you were offered $9 million but you had to unalive your best friend? In 2019, 22-year-old Denali Bremer from Anchorage, Alaska had met a guy online named Tyler. Tyler was supposedly a millionaire from Kansas and he fell madly in love with Denali after meeting her online. Tyler had promised Denali $9 million if she SA'd and unalived someone. If she were to videotape the crimes and send him photos of what happened, then the money would be hers. The two quickly formed a close bond and within months they began their plans. The thing was, Tyler was lying about who he was. His name was actually Darren Showmiller and he wasn't a millionaire. He was just a regular guy living in Indiana. Denali had no idea that he wasn't who he said he was. Denali and Darren had exchanged numerous messages how this plan was going to work. Denali took no time to choose her best friend, 19-year-old Cynthia Hoffman. Denali had chose 4 of her closest friends, and if they were to help out with the plan, they would get some of the money, which included 2 juveniles who have not been named, and we have Caden and Caleb. On June 2nd of 2019, Cynthia had left her home to hang out with some friends. She failed to return home, so her father tried to report her as missing, but when he went to the police, they said that he had to wait at least 24 hours. Denali had called Cynthia's dad throughout the night, telling him how she hoped that Cynthia was okay, and since they were best friends, Cynthia's dad did not find this strange at all. A few days later, Cynthia's body was found in a river. She had suffered a gunshot wound in the back of her head. The police had investigated her death and put together details pretty quickly. Denali was then brought into the station for questioning. Denali had mentioned to investigators that all the friends were playing a game where they all duct tape each other. Cynthia was first in the game and she immediately knew it wasn't a game anymore when Denali had retrieved a gun and pointed it at her. That is when Caleb had grabbed the gun from Denali and shot Cynthia in the back of the head. Denali was excited what she had did to her best friend, so she immediately called Darren, and that's when she knew that she was tricked. Denali had led detectives to the others who had participated, and they were arrested within a few days. In February of 2023, Denali had accepted a plea deal and will spend at least 30 years in prison. In August of 2023, Darren had pled guilty, and he will be sentenced at a later date. As for Caleb, in November of 2023, he pled guilty to second-degree murder, and he is expected to be in jail for up to 75 years.
All for some freaking money, man. Sickening.
These are the world's most haunted dolls. Starting at number 4. Letta the doll, a 200-year-old wooden doll with human hair. She was discovered beneath a house in Australia. Kerry Walton, the caretaker of this doll, witnessed many strange things ever since he took her inside his home. Marks on the floor, objects mysteriously moving, and strange noises at night. Number 3. Okiku. This doll was purchased by a young man in 1918 in Japan as a gift for his younger sister. Tragically, after a year, the little girl passed away from a severe case of the flu. Sometime later, the family noticed something off about the doll's hair. It was originally short, and it has grown past its shoulder. Until this day, the doll's hair is maintained on a regular basis because it never stopped growing. Number 2. Annabelle. Known for its infamous movie releases and stories with Ed and Lorraine Warren, we do know that this doll is possessed by something that is evil, and whoever held this doll suffered from many bad things. Therefore, the doll is now stored in the Warren Museum, safe and sealed. But Annabelle is not the most haunted doll, because coming at number 1,
Who is it?
Robert. Robert is not an ordinary doll. This thing is sinister. This doll is possessed by a demon, and it speaks to children. In Florida, in the early 1900s, this doll was gifted to a young boy named Robert Eugene, and his parents always used to hear Robert and his doll speak in the bedroom alone, and the family used to hear the voice of the doll respond. Eugene kept his doll till 1974 until he passed away at an old age. No one knew why this old man kept his doll for more than 70 years. After his death, Robert was given to the East Martello Museum. Visitors who have taken his picture without permission claim to have experienced terrible misfortune. If you visit Robert in the museum, you will see that this doll is surrounded by apology letters and also other letters, like permission to look at him. And no one dares to take a picture of Robert.
Today's story is about these life-sized dolls. I don't know why she's looking at me like that. I'm not scared. We good. We're not scared. We are not scared. These stories make me so happy that there's so much shit under my bed that there's no room for monsters down there. So this lady says that when she was little, her father gifted her this life-sized doll and she was in love with it. She loved this doll so much that she has kept it over the years and actually stored it underneath her daughter's bed. And mama ever did that shit. Anyway, she says that her daughter was actually really scared about that doll being stored under her bed. Why wasn't it under your bed, ma'am? And this is a story that her daughter tells her happened. So she wakes up in the middle of the night and thought that it was so weird that her arm was hanging between like the space of the wall and the bed. She thought it was weird because there had never been room there, so like it was always just the wall, her bed, no room for her arm to like go down there.
When she tried to pull her arm out of that crack, she says that she felt like a little plastic hand grab it and pull it underneath the bed. After she finally pulled her arm out of there, she said that there were marks of a tiny hand on her hand. She was so scared that she ended up running to her mom's room and waking her up. Obviously, she tells her mom that she doesn't want that doll underneath her bed anymore. So her mom says that she did take that doll from underneath her bed. However, she still has it stored. She doesn't want to get rid of that doll. The way it would be burning if I had heard my child tell me that this happened. Like, not to be an asshole, but like, what does the mom think is gonna happen when one day she's not here? She thinks her daughters are gonna keep that doll forever. Girl, I will bury you with that doll, because if you think I'm gonna keep that doll hearing what I just heard, was that too much? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But like, if you love it so much, I love you, jeez. It was nothing. It was the wind. I don't know what that sound was. I live in a townhome. I have neighbors. They're okay, we don't share any walls with them, but that could have been them. Anyway, what do you guys think about the doll? Because nothing happened in my office.
If you're home alone right now, skip this video. An 8-year-old girl bravely fought off a terrifying intruder who entered her home in the middle of the night wearing a clown mask. On the 15th of October, a scene unfolded in a small town like that from a horror film. At around 1:30 a.m., a man broke into a child's bedroom in Colorado. Police described the incident as an attempted child abduction, with the man entering the room in a dark hoodie and a cloth clown mask. Terrifyingly, the little girl was blindfolded and snatched off her bed as the man tried to take her from her bedroom. She was subject to quite a brutal attack by the intruder and bravely fought him off until he hit her over the head and knocked her out. Fortunately, it seems that he was spooked in the process of this and fled the scene. Now, it apparently took police over an hour to get to the incident at the property, but they did manage to gather vital evidence and then track the intruder down. They revealed his identity as 56-year-old Thomas Gallegos. They were able to arrest him and charge him with multiple serious offences such as burglary, assault, kidnapping and child abuse. The little girl did sustain cuts and bruises and was obviously traumatised by the attack, but fortunately did live to tell the tale.
This is how rare your body actually is. Starting off, only 5% of people have tied tongues, so if you have this, you're pretty rare. Basically, this is where your tongue is tied to the bottom of your mouth, impacting your speech and eating. Next up is Morton's toe, and if you have this, you're probably pretty rare. Only 10% of the population has this, and this is where your index toe is bigger than your big toe. Okay, this next one is crazy. 1% of people actually have unbreakable bones. This is a genetic mutation which causes people's bones to be more dense than the average human. And one person who had this condition actually walked away from a car crash unharmed. Next, about 50% of people can fit their hand in their mouth. Sounds a bit high, so if you actually can, let me know. If you can tickle yourself, you're in the rare 7% of the population that can do this. About 10% of people suffer from eczema, which is a skin rash and is so annoying. And finally, we have the 16% of people that can make a roaring noise in their head by clenching their jaw.
If any of your secrets, man, can you guys do any of those unique things, man? I think I have the tied tongue, but I can't fit my whole fist in my mouth. I know I can't do that. I don't even need to try to do that, bro. And the unbreakable bones. I saw actually somebody comment down, a fellow seeker said how like the unbreakable bone story was kind of not true. So, like I said, to each their own. Everybody got to do their own research, but that's crazy.
Crazy part is, most people believe that these 3 things will actually save your life. They don't. Let's pretend you're lost in the desert and you need water, and you don't have any. So where are some places you can get water? One commonly held terrible piece of advice is to drink your own pee, because it's mostly made up of water, except there's 5% of that that's all made up of just waste from your body, and even though the urine might keep you alive a little bit longer, you'll ultimately die of kidney failure. So you don't drink your own pee. Instead, you head over to some cactus you see nearby because you remember reading or hearing in school that you can drink the water inside of cactus. Except, unless it's one really specific kind of cactus, you'll be drinking lots of alkaloids and chemicals that will make you viciously ill, and you'll start vomiting and you'll have diarrhea and you'll die from dehydration much faster. So as you're sitting there wondering what you're going to do next, a venomous snake bites you. And so you instinctively start sucking on the bite to remove the poison, but you can't because it goes right in your bloodstream, and all you'll do is die much faster from infection.
Man, those 3 things, he just proved
Have you ever seen
us
the
wrong.
famous picture from inside the basement of Funzone? And I'm gonna get into some of the backstory about what it is that we're actually looking at here. But what I can tell you is that when I did see it, my heart sunk. For some backstory, if you don't know what Funzone is, this is kind of a relic of the late 90s, early 2000s. It had lots of iterations over the years, but it was effectively like an indoor amusement park or arcade. It used to be like a really fun place to be. It had a handful of carnival rides, indoor roller coasters, all the works. So Funzone eventually did close down and they boarded up the doors. I guess the problem was is that didn't stop people from breaking in. One of the curious things about this location was that they didn't sell off any of the equipment that was inside. It just kind of remained in place. Eventually, upon one of the break-ins where somebody went in, they made their way to the basement where they found an abandoned cell phone, and that is where we get this picture. Nobody really knows who took the photo or what really happened to them, but if you look a bit closer to the background, you will see the same thing that I do. You can see it if I make the photo brighter. Whoever was exploring Funzone, they came face to face with a person in that basement. Don't forget, if scary stories like this are of interest to you, make sure to go check them out right on the podcast.
We're always told to drink a lot of water
Insane.
throughout the day, but have you ever wondered what happens when you drink too much water? Well, 35-year-old Ashley Summers drank 64 ounces of water in a span of 20 minutes and passed away from water toxicity. Ashley, her husband, and 2 daughters were at Lake Freeman in Indiana when she began feeling dehydrated. So she drank 4 bottles of water because for some reason she wasn't able to quench her thirst. Ashley complained about having a horrible headache and she began to feel lightheaded. When she got home with her family, she passed out in the garage and she was taken to the hospital where the doctor said she had brain swelling. Ashley never woke up and she was pronounced dead from water toxicity. A toxicologist said that this is more likely to happen to someone who's extremely dehydrated, which will cause them to drink too much water and not enough sodium or electrolytes. So remember, bring more than just water on really hot days, especially if you're under the sun for a long period of time.
Here's why you might not want to visit your mom on her birthday. A man was stuck in traffic while driving home after visiting his mother for her birthday. The man was so frustrated that when the GPS told him to take a detour, he went right away, which might have been a mistake. His gas light then came on, so he decided to pull into this super barren town to fill up his tank. So the man went in, pumped his gas, and when he went to pay, the clerk was super weird. He didn't acknowledge him and just gave him a creepy smile. The man then went outside and saw a woman just standing in the middle of the road and said, "Are you okay?" And the woman looked at him and said, "Ah, yes, we are happy here." The man was like, "What?" and just drove out of there. Till a cop pulled him over and said, "Sir, you can't drive. Driving's illegal here." The man had had enough and literally just went pedal to the metal and zoomed out of there. When he got home, he was just so confused. The people looked real but didn't act human. He tried to research it but decided, next year I'm just sending my mom a card.
Yeah, the Fast and Furious out of there, bro. I did the same thing too. People are acting weird, very weird.
Weird Nature Facts, Part 37. In proportion to body weight, koalas have one of the smallest brains of any mammal. They're so dumb that when presented with leaves on a flat surface instead of on branches, they are unable to recognize them as food and will not eat them. Dogs get sprayed by skunks so often because skunks raise their tails as a warning. Dogs see this as "come smell my butt," which is the exact opposite message of what the skunk is trying to send. In Germany, it is illegal to kill any vertebrate animal without proper reason. Because of this, all German animal shelters are no-kill. In the 1980s, Ken the orangutan escaped from his enclosure at the San Diego Zoo multiple times. His apparent goals were visiting other animals, taking photos with tourists, and throwing rocks at his orangutan rival.
Wow,
Here are some disturbing facts about Disney. Many scenes in Toy Story are inspired by the horror movie The Shining. The voice actor that did Lilo in Lilo and Stitch also played the ghost girl in The Ring. The Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland feature real human skeletons. Also at Disneyland, there are vents that pump out artificial smells to keep you happy. After the release of Princess and the Frog, over 50 kids went to hospital for salmonella. They tried to kiss a frog. Do you know any other creepy things about Disney? Leave a comment.
Here's some.
I think the thing that got to me the most is that he pumping out like a smoke out of a vent to keep you happy at Disney. What the heck? What they got going on with Disney, bro? And the more you know, I heard some creepy facts about Disney, but that's definitely a new one I heard today, Seekers.
The creepiest videos on the internet, Part 10. The Popular American rapper XXXTentacion was murdered on June 18th, 2018, and his death broke the hearts of many.
R.I.P.
Many people visited his memorial to leave gifts, but some people captured much more. The YouTube channel, The Fam, recorded a video trying to communicate with this beloved rapper, but accidentally captured this. But someone else got a lot more than this. The YouTube channel Dora The Explorer got to speak with him through her spirit box. Here's some things he had to say.
What is your favorite song you've ever recorded? What's the name of your favorite song? Are you in the Wi-Fi? Is there anything else you want to tell us?
Is this legit? They were speaking to his ghost?
Yeah, I don't know if this is the most disturbing, but this is definitely top 5. This is Malg Island, and up to 60,000 of these birds called Cape Gannets will nest here. But don't worry, I'm gonna get to it. So normally these parents take turns, with one going out for food with the other staying behind to guard the chick. But because of overfishing, oftentimes both parents will go out for food, leaving the chick all alone on the island. Which wouldn't be a problem if they didn't know that. Because groups of these white pelicans will fly over to the islands and then walk around looking for any unsupervised Ganny chicks, so that they can grab the baby birds and eat them alive while they're still struggling. And sometimes they'll just push the parents out the way and then swallow the newborn children right in front of them. It somehow gets worse. Those same pelicans will fly back to their nest and vomit the half-digested, recently murdered baby birds for the pelican chicks to eat. And because Cape Gannets have no real way to defend themselves, pelicans have no reason to stop. And since pelicans obviously don't have teeth, those chicks' last moments were spent suffocating while being digested alive by stomach acid, only to get regurgitated and eaten twice. Dinosaurs never went extinct. They just rebranded with feathers.
Black Air Force energy. Confirmed. They need some menaces, bro.
This is proof that we aren't alone. Okay, so in Wyoming, there's a strange mountain in the middle of nowhere with ridges on it, and no one seems to know why. Now, most people say that this is because of erosion. However, there's a theory behind this mountain that will absolutely shock you.
Talk about
And
it.
as the theory says, the real reason as to why this mountain has ridges is not because of erosion, but because of a giant bear. The said bear is said to be named Mato and is about 60 feet tall, weighing over 10 tons. And this story even goes as far back as the Stone Age, with drawings of a gigantic bear attacking tribes on wall caves. However, this creature has not been seen since.
So this video went viral sometime last year when this woman and her kids, along with her friend and her friend's kids, went out to eat after a doctor's appointment. While they sat at this restaurant, this random man came out of nowhere and tried to grab one of their daughters and pull her out of the restaurant. The two mothers had a total of 6 kids with them, and they were all seated on this table, but in front of them were 2 other young kids who happened to be Snapchatting while this whole thing went down, and they caught this crazy moment. When the mother realized that this man had grabbed her daughter, she stood up right away and said, "Oh hell no." And then he said, "I'm just playing," and he let go of the little girl. There is no way this man is just playing around. He intended to take that little girl, and he probably thought it was going to be easy because there's just 2 moms with 6 kids at this table.
Humanoid robots.
Yeah, nah, he was definitely on some weird crap, bro. Gonna say, try to play it off as a joke, man. These people are getting bold now, bro. Like, right in front of the parents, they just don't care no more. Did the right thing stand up? Nah, we had to run that feed, bro. No. Somebody had to drag me off that guy, man. And like, in front of the parents? How stupid could you be?
Are getting creepier by the day. A startup from Poland called Clone Robotics is on a mission to create some of the most human-like robots ever, even going as far as to use a musculoskeletal body using hydraulic tendon muscles covered in this stretchy skin-like fabric. And it's not just for show, because they claim that it is the strongest biomimetic hand in the world. Oh, and just like in the movies, their artificial muscles bleed if punctured. So yeah, things are getting serious now.
Terminator next step.
Today
Today, let's talk about the mysterious disappearance of Rebecca Corium. Rebecca Corium was a 24-year-old worker on the Disney Wonder cruise ship. On March 22, 2011, while working on the cruise ship, Rebecca disappeared without a trace. This is one of the last photos taken of her, and it was from CCTV footage. At 5:45 a.m. that morning, footage revealed Rebecca talking on the phone with someone. She seemed visibly distressed. Now here's where it gets twisted. Many people believe that Disney knows exactly what happened to Rebecca, but are trying to cover up this whole thing. Let me explain. For starters, the captain of the ship said that Rebecca was just washed over by a big wave. They then gave Rebecca's parents a sandal and said that this was hers and it was retrieved from the deck that she was last seen on. Number one, the sandal wasn't her size. Number two, it wasn't her style. It was also revealed that Disney had edited the CCTV footage. Check out part 2 on this case for more information.
They're just trying to save some money, man. That's not the first time a big company would do something like that. It's sad.
Did you know that they may have just exposed Satan's city? What's even more crazy is there's people living there right now and it's not hell. Whilst addressing a church in Revelation chapter 2 verse 13, Jesus exposes the city of Satan. Watch this. Jesus says, I know where you live, a place where Satan sits enthroned. And he says that same place is where his faithful witness Antipas died. Saint Antipas was martyred by being burnt in a bronze bull in Geneva, Switzerland. Like, this literally happened under the rule and reign of Nero. And you're never gonna guess what's happening in Geneva, Switzerland right now. It's home to an organization called CERN, whose, logo just happens to be 666. And their goal in life is to develop a machine that can actually tear a hole between the natural and supernatural realm. And they just made a discovery of something called the God particle, but that's a video for another time. Subscribe now if you love Jesus.
What do we think about CERN, man? That's their headquarters,
This is the disturbing truth about Christmas. This is Black Peter, and he spends the whole year spying on kids, taking note on who has been good and who has been bad. Every single Christmas, Black Peter goes with Santa from house to house, and while Santa gives presents to the good kids, Black Peter punishes the bad ones, and this is what he does to them. First, he will leave you a bag of twigs and a pile of coal. But if you have been really bad, Black Peter will snatch you from your bed and throw you into a sack. He will then kidnap you and take you to his coal mine, where he will chain you up and make you his slave. You will then work for him for the rest of your life, and if Black Peter ever gets sick of you, he will just simply eat you. So if this doesn't motivate you to make the nice list, then I don't know what will.
Stay away from Black Peter, bro.
Of the silent man. In 2014, a 51-year-old man in the UK named David Hampson decided to stand in the middle of a busy road and block the traffic. The incident was then reported and police officers arrived at the scene to see what was going on. But when they tried to talk to David to get him to move, he wouldn't say a word and just stood there, so they arrested him. From his arrest to when he was brought to court, David still remained completely silent and wouldn't even talk to his lawyer. Although since no one knew his motives and he hadn't actually hurt anyone, David was let go soon afterwards. But all he did was just go back to that same street and stand there, silent, once again. And he committed this same crime over and over again for the next 7 years, never saying a word to anyone. Even though he was jailed multiple times, every time he was released, he would just go back to that same street and do the exact same thing. All the doctors who had tried to help David failed because he refused to speak to them. And it was reported that the only time anyone had ever heard him speak was when he was giving food and water, and he said thanks. Finally, in 2020, David was given 3.5 years in prison for his actions, and is still yet to speak to anyone on why he did it. Fourth one.
If you believe in God,
crazy.
stay away from Halloween. Muslims, Christians, or anyone who believes in God, Halloween is a pagan festival. It involves evil spirits, jinns, and shaitan. It is forbidden for Muslims, and real Christians will know the truth. Please do not associate with it and stay away. Share this everywhere and spread awareness.
Alright guys, let's
That's
talk about
true, I remember
Krampus.
that.
Krampus comes from old German folklore. He's the opposite of Santa Claus and he punishes misbehaving children on Christmas. You might be asking, what does he do to punish these misbehaving children? He stuffs them in his bag and takes them back to his lair. He either eats them or tortures them. He also has a whole gang of minions that help him do this. Krampus is celebrated around many parts of Europe and there have been a lot of petitions to ban him. This is because people are scared of the legend and they don't want to keep doing it. but every single year during Christmas time, there are always reports of Krampus sightings all over the place. Let me know what you guys think about Krampus in the comment section below.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 3. The first firefighter killed in 9/11 attacks was struck dead by a falling body in the courtyard. One of them was killed on his way in, and the other was killed on his way out. Right now, there are tiny little bugs on your face munching on your dead skin. Your bones are wet. If you don't have kids, you will break an unbroken line of children that has gone on for tens of millions of years. A scientist studying death asked a man who was about to be executed by a guillotine if he would blink after his head was chopped off. He ended up blinking for 30 seconds. Most laugh tracks for TV shows were recorded in the early 1950s, meaning that you hear dead people laugh. If you're attacked by a bear, it won't try to kill you like other predators. Instead, it'll just start eating you. One day, someone will mention you for the last time, then they'll never ever mention you again.
Crazy to think about, man.
Here are the creepiest Christmas urban legends, part 1. Ever heard of the Yule Cat? This is an extremely creepy cat that's said to originate from Iceland. According to stories, the Yule Cat enjoys snacking on people during the holiday season. And what makes the Yule Cat even weirder is that it specifically targets people who haven't received any new clothing before Christmas Eve. Iceland is also home to Gryla. According to Iceland lore, Gryla is a giant ogress who leaves her cave in the mountains to feed on children during Christmas. To make the story even creepier, Gryla keeps the Yule Cat as a pet. What the hell is going on in Iceland? Then we have Belschnickel, and this one comes from Germany. According to people of the Rhine, Belschnickel is an old bearded man who visits children during the holidays with Santa Claus. If you were good that year, he'd give you cakes and candy. If you were bad, well, Belschnickel would pull out a switch and whip the children until they behaved. This is probably why Dwight from The Office loved him so much. There's also Krampus. This is one you've probably heard about from movies and books. In the Alpines, Krampus is a horned demonic figure who visits the homes of naughty children on December 5th and punishes them. In some versions of the story, he hits them with birch rods. In others, he straight up takes them back down to hell with him. The Germans definitely know how to scar kids for life.
Scary things hidden in Disney movies. In Mona, Olaf from Frozen appears in Mona's basket. In Wall-E, Rex from Toy Story All Alone among the junk.
Whoa,
Here's
I never
the truth
noticed
behind
that.
Dora the Explorer. You may think it's just some ordinary cartoon, but there's actually a big secret behind it. Dora the Explorer is actually blind, and here's proof. If you watch the show, you'll notice Dora never actually looks at what she's talking about. She always looks in another direction and doesn't even blink. This also explains why her parents make her take Boots everywhere, because Boots is actually a Secret Service animal. Even in this scene right here, Boots is counting the coins and she's not looking anywhere near that. And this explains why she always asks obvious questions to the audience.
Here's what famous cartoon characters would look like in real life, and the last one will freak you out. This is what Homer Simpson would look like as a real person. And this is a 3D rendering of Mario. Buzz Lightyear doesn't actually look too different in real life. And Bart Simpson seems to have a missing chin when he turns real. Stewie Griffin from Family Guy doesn't look too different. But SpongeBob SquarePants might freak you out.
Yeah, he did. SpongeBob can't be real. That be.
Maps that will change the way you see the world. These cities are all still owed money from the Trump campaign. There are now over 50 countries generating over 50% of their electricity from renewable energy. This shows the employment rates for 15 to 29-year-olds in Europe. The darkest blue areas are over 80% and the darkest red areas are under 30%. This is how much it costs to hold a prisoner in each state in the United States. In Arkansas, it only costs $23,000, but in Maine, it costs over $300,000. 33% of the entire country of Switzerland live within 5 kilometers of the main train line that goes through the country. This map shows how population is dispersed through France with the same amount of people living in the green as in the red. This map shows how many people by percentage in each country in Europe actually speak French. This map is highlighting every city that was founded by the French in the United States.
Wow, the more you know. That first map is crazy, bro.
These are scary cartoon truths that would terrify you, part 8. Okay, so the Teletubbies is a dark nightmare about genetically engineered slave creatures being systematically trained to become part of our society.
The Teletubbies aren't in control of their own destiny, and 3 things control their day-to-day life. First is the voice, which is a tiny female voice that tells them when they could eat, sleep, say hello, or even say goodbye. The robotic voice comes from a speaker in the ground, hinting that something larger lies beneath. Next up is Nunu. He's a harmless vacuum cleaning robot who follows the Teletubbies and cleans up all the messes that they make, and also yelling at them for bad decisions. Nunu is just the watchdog of the Teletubbies. Finally is the pinwheel. Whenever the pinwheel starts to spin, the Teletubbies stop everything they're doing and run to the top of the hill to perform a ritual. People believe the Teletubbies is based on the end of the world.
Wow, we've heard some crazy theory about the Teletubbies, but that's definitely a new one.
Saudi Arabia has just said that the groundwork for what would become the largest structure on Earth is now 86% complete. Now, not only would it be large enough to fit 20 Empire State Buildings inside, but similar to the Las Vegas Sphere, in its center will be this spiral-shaped tower encased by a VR dome that essentially could create anything your mind could imagine, whether that be on Mars, under the ocean, balcony views of Pandora, and even whatever the hell these things are. So the question is, do you think they'll be able to complete this by 2030 or not?
This evil grandmother baked
so.
her 20-month-old granddaughter in the oven. Viewer's discretion is strongly advised. 48-year-old Carolyn Jones lived with her brother and 20-month-old granddaughter Royalty in Shaw, Mississippi. She was described as a caring woman who loved her granddaughter. On October 15th of 2018, Carolyn's brother had found Royalty in a still warm oven when he had returned home from work. She had been burned so badly that she was unrecognizable. The police determined that Royalty had been stabbed multiple times and was still alive when she was placed in the oven. Royalty's cause of death was stab wounds and inhaling all that heated air. Carolyn was taken into custody on a charge of first-degree murder. The motive behind why she did this is still unclear to this day. A week before the incident, Royalty's toys and belongings had been left on the curb for trash. Royalty's car seat, high chair, ride-on horse, and diapers were among the items taken by people that were passing down their street. Neighbors were shocked to hear about what happened, and they stated that they rarely saw Carolyn or anyone else at that house, and they had no idea that a small child was even living there. In 2022, Carolyn was sentenced to life in prison for capital murder.
An 11-year-old boy came across this girl buried underneath the sand, and this is what happened. A young boy named Connor Fitzgerald was building sandcastles with a couple of his friends at the Marina Dunes beach in California. The boys soon moved to digging holes in the sand and challenged each other to see who could dig the deepest. As Connor was digging his hole, he suddenly hit something with his right hand. He dug deeper and realized that it was a bag. He dug around the bag, grabbed it, pulled it out, and was shocked when he realized that the bag was still attached to its owner. Connor then dug back more sand to find a little girl buried underneath. He called out for help, but there were no adults around, so he single-handedly pulled her out of the sand. The little girl was completely limp and wasn't breathing. Connor then thought back to an episode of NCIS where he saw a character perform CPR. As he started the procedure, a young couple walking down the beach started sprinting toward them.
Creepy facts about our world. The Devil's Bible exists, and is said to be a contract between a 13th century monk and Satan. Also known as the Codex Gigas, it's the largest Latin manuscript known to the world, and contains a full-page portrait of Satan. Ancient
is unbelievable. Chinese scientists have successfully used stem cell technology to grow deer antlers on mice, resulting in a major breakthrough that could one day see humans regrow lost limbs. The researchers were able to identify and extract these cells responsible for the rapid growth of antlers on deer, and then transplant these cells onto the foreheads of the mice. And just 45 days later, these mice started growing small stumps that actually contained cartilage and bone. The team hopes that this procedure could one day help repair bones or cartilage in humans, or potentially even grow back lost limbs. So the question is this exciting or just weird?
I think I'm gonna have to go with weird, man, because once you start freaking crossbreeding, bro, that can open up a whole can of worms that wasn't intended, man. People can use it for different purposes, and we can go down a very dark slope. So I don't know how people gonna feel about that one, bro. Crossbreeding, cross genetics.
The
past couple of years, we've been seeing more and more of these cases of mothers throwing their newborn babies in the garbage. You've probably heard of this case in 2023 when 19-year-old Alexia Treviso gave birth to her baby in a hospital bathroom, which then she threw her baby in the trash can and her baby did not survive. Another 19-year-old in New Mexico named Alexis Avila also threw her newborn son in a dumpster behind a shopping mall. Luckily, the baby was found alive by 3 people who were looking through the garbage. Now, last week, another baby was found in a dumpster behind an apartment complex in Houston after someone heard a baby crying. When EMS arrived, they pulled the baby out of the trash bag with his umbilical cord still attached, and based on the baby's condition, it was obvious that he was just born. Police looked at surveillance footage and realized that this 18-year-old named Everilda, who worked at a taco truck beside the apartment, gave birth inside the truck and then threw the baby in the dumpster. She was then arrested, and she did admit to it and said that she did it because she feared that her boyfriend would break up with her. See, my thing is, if you cannot keep the baby for whatever reason, there are other options. You can drop the baby off at a hospital, and a lot of times they won't even ask you for anything. Why are we throwing babies in the garbage? This 18-year-old was charged with abandoning a child without intent to return, and her bond was set at $200,000.
The unsolved final footage of Lars Matank is just as chilling as it is confusing. But the story really starts back in 2014. This is 28-year-old Lars, and he ends up taking a trip to Bulgaria with his friends. So at a night out at a bar, he ends up getting into an argument with several unknown men, which results in a fight, and he ends up rupturing his eardrum. Because of his injury, he insists that his friends are going to fly back without him, and he's just going to stay behind and recover for a few days. But as soon as he's left behind in the hotel, this is when the strange and erratic behavior becomes almost immediate, and he starts becoming paranoid and thinks there are men following him. Which then leads us to this final footage where we see Lars arriving at the airport, presuming that he's there to catch a flight because he has luggage in hand. But then for an unknown reason, we see him sprinting out of the terminal into the parking lot, and this was the last time he has ever been seen on camera. To this day, what Lars thought he was running from or where he went remains a complete unknown in this case.
What happened to Lars, bro? That's eerie, man. Imagine going, leaving your friend, and never hearing from him again. And that's the freaking last footage you saw.
And she says, "Hi, Jamila."
Cheese. Cheese. What you doing?
What are you looking at?
What? What you say? Who are you saying hi to? Who are you saying hi to? Dude, you need to stop that. You're freaking me out. Come on. Where are you waving at, love?
Oh, man.
Was she, did you get my Mars couldn't walk?
She was old. She could walk, but she was old. Okay?
Mommy, your grandma's here. And she says, "Hi, Jamila."
What?
Your grandma's here. And she says, "Hi, Jamila."
Follow for more.
She was talking to her grandma?
Unsolved mysteries. This picture shows unsolved mysteries from the most well-known to the darkest of the dark. Some of these mysteries will drive you crazy and make you question everything. In this series, we'll be picking some from each category until we reach Tier 10, which will apparently make you and me question our entire existence. Without further ado, let's get into Tier 1. This is Malaysian Airlines Flight 370, and it's one of the most famous unsolved mysteries of all time. Now, on the 8th of March 2014, the plane was flying from Kuala Lumpur International Airport to Beijing capital. However, the plane never reached its destination. After just over 2 hours, the flight disappeared off the radar, and ATC had no contact with the plane. Days after the mysterious disappearance, people started looking into it, but found absolutely nothing. Not even any debris was actually found initially. It's believed that the plane could have actually been hijacked. And it's also, of course, possible that the plane did just crash somewhere in the sea, but nothing was found. Make sure you hit that follow button so you don't miss Tier 2. It's about to get crazy.
Here are some events that will happen by the year 2050. The sad truth is, by the year 2050, half of the world's population will not have access to clean drinking water.
Whoa.
Half of the Amazon rainforest will be deforested, leaving many animals without any shelter at all. In 2025, SpaceX is sending their first cargo ship to Mars. And if all goes well, they are sending their first humans to Mars by the year 2050. So who knows, maybe by 2050 we will have the first civilization on Mars. Animals are getting more dangerous and more powerful every year. Animals are evolving every day, becoming more of a threat to society. I'm not talking about your regular house pet, I'm talking about wild animals. For instance, in 2020, we found the first flying spider, your worst nightmare. You thought the coronavirus was bad? Well, by 2050, there could be more deadly viruses affecting the world than ever before. You better keep that face mask. The population will be 9.6 billion.
Hey man, we gotta be aware, bro, of things freaking coming to the future, man. The thing about flying spiders, hell no. See, I can't do that. That's just something I refuse to believe in, bro. No.
Yo, what's up? Here's some scary facts about our world that you probably didn't want to know. Part 10. It has been said that in some cases, if you hear ringing in your ear, it could be signs of a dead family member trying to contact you. Hey, Grandma. Many statistics have shown that blue-eyed people are more likely to suffer from alcoholism and depression than anyone else. You've got to be kidding me. There have been some cases reported of doctors selling their patients' blood on the dark web. Number one, why would a doctor need to make any more extra money? Number two, why are you selling a patient's blood on the dark web? One time a lady found toenails in her chicken nuggets at McDonald's. There's a reason I don't eat McDonald's. 4 actors from The Poltergeist died shortly after the filming of the movie because they thought there was a hanging curse over the movie that caused them to die.
We ain't eating no freaking McDonald's chicken nuggets no more. Those out, bro. Toenails and chicken nuggets?
Imagine your best friend sleeping with your 6-year-old daughter, and that's not even the worst part of it. He films it and keeps it in his phone. This is one story that would live in your head rent-free, haunting and frankly disturbing. So this story happened in Russia in September of 2021, and it's about 2 friends, 32-year-old Oleg and 34-year-old Vyacheslav, who they say have been best friends for a very long time. Vyacheslav was married with kids. He and his wife had about 2 children at the time. And so every once in a while, maybe when either of them are busy or when both of them were busy, Vyacheslav would leave his children in the hands of his best friend Oleg to babysit till either he or his wife returns from work. And also for the fact that to the kids, Uncle Oleg was an uncle. He was pretty much family. Little did they know that something was wrong with Uncle Oleg. The whole story unfolded from August of 2021, and it so happened that one day while the 2 friends were hanging out in a bar, Vyacheslav picked Oleg's phone just to go through it for fun, and that was when he stumbled upon a video that looked off. He clicked on the video and saw his friend, the 2-year-old man, sexually assaulting his 6-year-old daughter, and that set him off. It was said that he confronted Oleg, and immediately Oleg ran away because at this point his cover has blown. Not only was he molesting his best friend's daughter, there were videos of him molesting about 7 other children in his phone multiple times. Click the link on our bio to get 820,000 naira bonus with 150 free spins to win exciting prizes using our promo code TCD to register.
Creepy facts you probably don't know, but you're about to. Part 2. At one time, doctors thought that babies didn't feel pain. It took up until 1987 for the American Academy of Pediatrics to declare that it was unethical to operate on babies without anesthesia. So that means for years, babies were forced to just sit there and suffer through surgery without any form of pain control or anesthetics. So yeah, that's kind of scary.
Yes,
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. When Apollo 11 landed, it only had 20 seconds of remaining fuel. 4 months ago, a deceased rapper by the name Gunu had his corpse on stage while fans were partying around his body. The average person wastes 5 months of their lives waiting for red lights to turn green. Cruise ships have morgues, just in case someone, during the trip. If you have red eyes after swimming, it's not from chlorine. It's from the chlorine mixing with other people's urine. The furthest part of the ocean from land is Point Nemo. If you get stuck there, you're not coming back. Sunburn are your cells dying to avoid being cancerous. Most laugh tracks and shows are people from the 50s, which means you're hearing the laughter of dead people. Yeah, there's a lot more, like for part 14.
Gotta find some more of those, bro. Let's keep us some
Cute
full
animals
knowledge.
that are actually horrifying, part 1. I know we all think of walruses as cute little fellas that make for great stuffed animals, but what if I told you they have a habit of sucking the brains out of baby seals while they're still alive?
What?
Walruses normally use their incredibly strong suction to vacuum clams out of their shells, but some wanted something a little meatier, and have used their strong suction for a much more sinister purpose, which I call the death hickey. They grab a young seal with their flippers, wrap their lips around the poor guy's nose, and turn on the vacuum, sucking the brains out through the seal's nose like it's drinking a smoothie. After it's had its appetizer, it hickeys off some other pieces of seal meat until it's done with its meal. But the wrath of walruses isn't limited to seals. I went into various walrus attacks on people in my latest YouTube video if you guys want to check it out.
Man, what the heck? It's news to me, bro. When you see walruses, they, like you said, they always display them as, you know, they're kind, loving animals. They're braid eaters, bro. Shocking our reality. Wide open, man.
Here's the dark truth behind The Wizard of Oz. The actress that played Dorothy, Judy Garland, was actually drugged and molested during filming. She was also given adrenaline shots so that she could stay up to sometimes more than 48 hours in a row. And there was also reports that she was molested and sexually harassed by both the Munchkin actors and studio executives. The actress that plays the Wicked Witch also got horrifically burned on set. In this scene where the Wicked Witch escapes Munchkin Land in a plume of smoke, the pyrotechnics team accidentally set off the explosion a little too early, which caused the actress's broom, hat, and makeup to catch on fire. Medics had to use alcohol to remove her toxic makeup, which was extremely painful due to her burns. And the fake snow in this scene was made using asbestos, which causes cancer.
Hey man, these movie productions back in the day, they sound
Recent
cursed.
Discoveries, Part 2. Just last month, archaeologists examining a newly discovered ancient Egyptian cemetery found this lid on the coffin of an ancient priestess. It's clear that whomever arranged for her funeral wasn't prepared to pay top dollar for her burial. The internet has also pointed out that the image closely resembles Marge Simpson, even though the coffin is more than 3,000 years old. Last year, a perfectly intact 1,500-year-old arrow was discovered nestled between some rocks in Norway. The research team thinks it was encased in ice, then transported downslope as the ice melted. An amateur diver exploring shallow waters near Israel recently discovered this 900-year-old iron sword. Experts believe it belonged to a Crusader knight before he lost it overboard during a fierce battle in the 11th century. An incredible discovery was recently made during renovations at a church in Naples, Italy. Behind a 16th century painting called Life of San Severo, workers found a hidden painting depicting St. George slaying a dragon.
Whoa. Hidden treasures. Hidden within.
These are scary facts about popular childhood movies, Part 1. Up first, Claire Blandick, who played Auntie M in The Wizard of Oz, suffered from arthritis that was so painful that she committed suicide at the age of 85. She did her hair and makeup one final time and put on a nice dress before overdosing on sleeping pills. She then left a note that said, "I am now about to make the great adventure. I cannot endure this agonizing pain any longer. It's all over my body. I pray the Lord my soul to take. Amen." Next up, in the movie The Adventures of Milo and Otis, it's been reported that upwards of 20 cats were killed during the filming of the movie. There's a lot of speculation behind this, because the film somehow got the approval of the American Humane Society, despite not having their officers present during filming.
How? Someone wasn't doing their job, man. They tried to cut
Blood-curdling
corners.
facts that you wish you never knew. Part 19. Facebook was forced to shut down 2 artificial intelligence robots named Alice and Bob because they started communicating with one another in their own language. If you ever win the lottery, you're 120 times more likely to be killed by an immediate family member. A sloth has nipples in its armpits. In the 17th century, there was a man named Tare who could eat his entire body weight in just one sitting. And despite being pretty skinny, he would swallow live animals, eat human corpses, and was even accused of eating the body of a 3-year-old toddler. An 11-year-old boy named Konorak escaped Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment, but was later returned to Dahmer by police, and he killed the boy just 30 minutes after. It's commonly believed in religion that angels look like this, but according to the Bible, they actually look like this.
Disturbing facts that may ruin your day.
Okay.
This 82-year-old woman went to the doctor for pelvic pain. She had been carrying a mummified fetus in her womb for over 40 years. The fetus was completely calcified and deemed the stone baby. Alcohol kills 1 person every 10 seconds worldwide. As whales reach old age, they don't have the strength to come up to the surface for air. This causes them to drown and sink to the bottom of the ocean. Bill Lewis, aka Mr. Mosby from the Disney Channel, was arrested for manslaughter and driving while intoxicated back in 1991. Due to scorching hot summers, Siberian bears have been digging up dead bodies from nearby cemeteries for food. It's like they see the cemeteries as giant refrigerators. Refrigerators have magnetic doors now because children used to die in them. Before the 1950s, refrigerators could be only opened from the outside. Toddlers' teeth are right below their eyes.
Whoa. That's a scary image, man. The skull, bro, with the teeth beneath the eyes. It really breaks my mind sometimes how the human body works. Jen.
A demon that has been known to possess animals or humans. What's terrifying is that you could see that the water sounded and looked like it actually hit something before falling to the ground. So even though we couldn't see it, we could hear it, and you could see that the water physically hit it.
We're learning about Jen, so.
Urban legends I've ever heard, and it ended up being true. But in Canada, there was this legend that one night a bunch of people saw a bright blue light in the sky, and the next day an entire village of people disappeared. But it turns out that legend is rooted in something that really happened. This is coming from this week's episode. I have a whole series on urban legends that ended up being true, and it's a very scary listen. So in Canada in 1930, a fur trapper named Joe LaBelle was riding in the river in his canoe when he came to a village he had seen before. Except this time when he came upon it, it looked like everyone had left in a hurry. Food was still cooking, and a bunch of dogs were barking and super hungry as if they had been left behind. But the strangest part of all of this was in the middle of the community, there was a grave that had been disturbed. And that reminded the fur trapper of a very scary story he had heard. The legend of the Torn Rack, which was this demon that supposedly stalked the area. So he starts looking for someone who might know what happened to these people. They were a nomadic people. It didn't make any sense that they would have left all of their stuff behind. And that's when he finds a man in a hospital who was potentially part of the village. The man is so freaked out. He won't say anything at first, but eventually Joe gets him to talk, and he recognizes one word that the man says. Tornrak, the name of the evil deity that was potentially in the area. The police basically don't believe any of this, but they do acknowledge that before the disappearance, they did see blue lights in the sky that no one has been able to figure out what they were. I get more into the theories of what may have happened in this episode, and I also talk a little bit more about other urban legends that ended up being true.
Hey, remember this nonsense, the cheetah gator? Yeah, this was real, and there was a time where it was everyone's problem. His actual name is Youre Pasukas, and his hood is in what is now South America and Africa. And the memes are true. He was a land op, meaning he would run his prey down. Scientists believe Youre Pasukas would have galloped after its prey. Luckily for everything around it, it was actually a mini-me that only grew to about 3 to 5 feet long, and it probably only ate small lizards, mammals, and dinosaur hatchlings. Now, if this guy pulled up on you, it would be a very different movie. Caprosuchus saharicus was a 23-foot middle finger with teeth that looked like it belonged to a feral pig, which is actually why they were nicknamed the boar croc. And unlike crocodiles today, whose eyes are at the top of their head, the Caprosuchus's eyes were more lateral, Might not realize it, but that's very bad. Because instead of just hiding in the water with just its eyes above the surface, this assault weapon with teeth had binocular vision and depth perception, meaning not only was it catching bodies on land, it was probably chasing them down too. And unlike its smaller cousin, it probably clapped dinosaurs. And if Google's right, this 23-foot monster with boar jaws would have been almost as fast as Usain Bolt, and they would have attacked you by slamming this down into you like a sledgehammer. The only reason they're not around today is even nature knows when it's gone too far.
Lucky, bro.
CERN has accidentally opened multiple portals all around the world, and strange creatures are coming out. Part 2. They have discovered a new creature called a Dracohound. Their diet has consisted of small berries, rodents, and other vegetation. Another animal that they discovered is called flutterpaws. They've also found forest sentinels, which are beetle-like creatures, eating things like plant matter, fungi, and insects. Now the scary part is they found one of these portals under the ocean. Strange ships have been popping out of them. The technology in these ships are way more advanced than ours, and scientists believe that humanoid creatures are flying these things. Make sure you hit that follow button because part 3 is wild.
CERN open up portals? Nothing new.
Space, and from all my years of education, this is the scariest fact I know. There is a cosmological model for the future of the universe called the Big Rip, and it tells us how the universe might end. You've been warned. As our universe expands, it continues to speed up, getting faster and faster, and from everything we know about physics, it's not going to slow down. If this is true, in around 22 billion years from now, the force of dark energy driving the universe's expansion will overcome all other forces of physics, literally causing galaxies to be destroyed, the solar system to be ripped apart, Earth will then explode, and finally, the literal atoms in everything will be ripped apart. So if any humans are around then, they will be literally ripped apart, atom by atom, from the universe itself. Enjoy your dreams tonight.
Further that you look
Expanding
at the
too
darkness, you
fast.
start to realize just how dark it really is. This woman behind me, this is Lorleen Wallace. She was the first female governor of Alabama, and she was diagnosed with stage 4 cervical cancer. Dark history for Lorleen was that, legally, doctors did not have to tell her. They only told her husband. Please let that sink in. She was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, terminal cancer, and only her husband was told. Her husband decided not to tell her. Legally, he didn't have to. It was thought at the time that women's nerves were too fragile to be able to handle news like this, so only their husbands were told. I think we're probably going to cover this on the podcast, because this is actually a pretty in-depth story, if you want to listen. Basically, the way this story ends is that Lorleen, she does become governor. She runs, but she only lives through the first year of her term. She was never initially told she was dying.
Creepy last words people
That's
said right
insane,
before
man.
dying. A 20-year-old gang member was dying of primary liver cancer. In his last days, hours, and moments, he was angry. The family called the hospice nurse into the room and told her that they thought he was going. He wasn't responding, his eyes were glossy, his skin was cold, the end was imminent. His lovely mother whispered to him to go towards the light, to her Jesus. He opened his eyes, looked at her, and said, "F your Jesus." A second or two later, he slowly turned his head to the left and got the most horrific look on his face, as if he was looking at something that they couldn't see. And horrified, his face contorted, and he screamed with his last breath, eyes wide, "Oh sh*! Oh sh*! Oh no!" Then he made a guttural noise and promptly fell back into the bed and died. Every family member was shaking and too frightened to speak. The hospice nurse left the room and took 2 days off. She said she doesn't care if she never finds out what he saw.
People who gained real-life superpowers after an accident. Jason Padgett was a party animal who hated school and got terrible grades. But one day, 2 men savagely robbed and attacked Jason outside of a karaoke bar, leaving him with a severe concussion. The concussion caused him to become a mathematical genius and made him learn fractal geometry, which he had never been taught before. When Derek Amato was 39 years old, he hit his head after diving into a swimming pool and was diagnosed with a concussion and 35% hearing loss. After that, Derek began to see black and white keys in his head, and out of nowhere, he began to play the piano like an expert. Ben McMahon was in a car accident in 2015 and fell into a coma for a week. When he woke up, he could speak perfect Chinese, even though he had only learned the basics as a child. Tony Ciceria was struck by lightning after making a call in a phone booth. Within a couple of days, he was addicted to music, which he wasn't before. After trying the piano, he became a musical artist, composing his own music.
Man, they really getting real life superpowers, bro.
Top 3 urban legends that turned out to be true. Part 1. Number 3. The sewer crocodile. One of the most famous urban legends is about a crocodile living in the city sewers. While it may sound unbelievable, there have been several cases where crocodiles have been found in sewer systems. For example, in 2010, a young crocodile was discovered in the sewers of New York City, confirming the truth behind this urban legend. Number 2. Spiders and bananas. According to this urban legend, venomous spiders frequently hide in imported banana bunches. This story has proven to be true on multiple occasions. In 2005, a British family found a venomous spider, known as the Brazilian wandering spider, in a bunch of bananas they purchased from a supermarket. This case confirmed that there is some truth to this urban legend. Number 1. The killer. Hiding in the back seat. This urban legend tells the story of a psychopathic killer who hides in the back seat of a person's car and attacks when they are distracted. While it's difficult to find specific cases that exactly match this legend, there have been incidents where dangerous individuals have gained access to the back seat of cars and attacked their occupants. These events have confirmed the importance of being cautious and checking the inside of one's car.
So I found these conspiracy theories that are so believable, they actually might be true.
Talk about it.
Number 1, studies show that cats understand human commands but don't care to follow them. Yeah, I don't like cats. I'm a dog kind of guy. Number 2, it is believed that when you die in a dream, you wake up because your brain doesn't know how to process the idea of what comes after death. Could be. I believe it. Number 3. Now this is scary. The reason Disney came out with a movie called Frozen was so that when you Googled Disney Frozen, you would get information about the movie and not the websites talking about Walt Disney's body being frozen. I mean, I did see an article about this that was published in 1995. Not sure if this is true or not, but I do believe it. This is where it gets freaky. Number 4. Mike Tyson's fight, time traveler. This fight was in 1995. If you look closely, you can see that that could be a smartphone. In fact, it does look like a smartphone to me. There were no smartphones in 1995. This is how phones used to look like in 1995. They didn't have cameras. They barely had any color. But this thing double flashed, exactly like how an iPhone or an Android would take a picture. I don't know about time travel, but this is very interesting. I'd really like to know what this thing was. What's the creepiest conspiracy theory that you heard of?
I think the one that got to me was probably like the time travel joint from Mike Tyson, because he showed us a graphic of those phones. They did not match up at all. I don't know if that could have been like a different version of prototype or something, man, or a different type of camera, but I think that one got to me the most, man. Time travel.
The 3 most dangerous places you should never set foot. Number 3. The Hoia Baciu Forest, located in Romania, is often dubbed the Haunted Forest due to the many paranormal stories reported there. Many visitors have described feelings of anxiety, a sense of being watched, and some even claim to have seen ghostly apparitions. In addition to the inexplicable phenomena, the forest features oddly shaped trees in areas where vegetation doesn't grow at all, heightening its mysterious ambience. Number 2. The Chernobyl zone in Ukraine is the site of the biggest nuclear disaster in history. In 1986, a reactor at the nuclear power plant exploded, releasing significant amounts of radioactive material into the environment. Today, while some parts of the region are open for strictly controlled tours, others remain highly contaminated by radiation and can pose a severe health hazard. It's crucial to adhere to safety guidelines and not stray off marked paths. Number 1. The Valley of the Kings in Egypt, located on the west bank of the Nile near Luxor, is famous for its royal tombs dating back to ancient Egypt. While it's a popular tourist destination, it comes with risks. Beyond natural dangers like extreme heat and the risk of dehydration, there have been speculations and legends about the Pharaoh's curse, where those who disturb the Pharaoh's tombs would be cursed.
This might ruin your
I ain't going there.
But in the movie Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, there's a really dark joke in there that a lot of people missed. In this scene, you can see the presidents of Mount Rushmore getting pied in the face. But pay attention to Abraham Lincoln. Unlike the other presidents, he gets pied in the back of the head, which is exactly how he was assassinated in life.
Oh, what? I never even picked up on that, man. These movies, man, it has hidden messages. When you're a kid, you just don't get it.
What is going on here? This robot is literally serving drinks at a bar at an event recently hosted by Elon Musk.
There you go.
Our robot.
Everybody, get pictures. In my good side, Optimus #1. Robots are the future. How's it going, sir? What can I get you? You want a watermelon? I can't convince you to get the robot? Okay, I'll get you one. Just kidding.
No!
How's your night going so far? There you go. Ice cold beverage.
Now, this robot created by Elon, which he named Optimus, isn't only capable of serving drinks. Apparently, it can do a lot more. Apparently, Optimus can dance and interact with people, and it can do things around the house, like cleaning, cooking, mowing the lawn, taking out the garbage, walking your dogs, and also babysitting. I'm sorry, but if this robot can actually do all these things, then I don't see how people wouldn't want one. Tesla's vision for Optimus is so that people can integrate this robot in their everyday lives so that it can do things that we don't want to do or things that are just repetitive or dangerous. When I first saw this, I immediately thought about iRobot, which came out in 2004, which is funny because the director of iRobot recently accused Elon of copying his designs for his new Tesla products, and he tweeted this. Now, if you see a side-by-side, you can kind of see a resemblance. It's been said that Optimus would first be used internally at Tesla facilities, and then it will expand its productions for other companies, and then eventually for the general public. So it's possible that you can have one of these in your house by 2027. Now, the price for one of these is around 20 to 30K, and Elon mentioned that he is aiming to make it more affordable so that more people can buy it. But if Optimus can really cook, clean, and do my laundry, take my money, Elon. No, but seriously, would you guys actually drop this much money for this? Let me know.
I'll speak for me. No! No! Like, our robot was the blueprint. Didn't you not see what happened in that movie, man? The side-by-side comparisons. The designs, they too similar to me, bro. We seen how that game, they trying to rise up against us. No! I will not be getting that Tesla bot. No. I can't do that.
Conspiracy theory claims that the show was inspired by events that happened in a Bulgarian mental facility called La La Land. The children there were isolated from the others and placed in dark rooms. But apparently 4 of those children died on the same day, inspiring the Teletubbies. Lala apparently had facial disfigurement and was isolated for 5 years, and that inspired the Teletubby Lala. Toite was a deaf, facially disfigured kid who was tied to a fence outside and had gotten frostbitten from the cold. This inspired Tinky Winky. Donka, who was starved and was very, very sick, would lay in his own vomit for days, inspired Dipsy. And finally, Paulina, who had fell into a fire and was roasted alive, inspired Pug. But you won't believe the reason they were called the Teletubbies. You see, their children's main source of entertainment in their rooms were their TVs. They were as small as a small iPad. Sometimes when they heard their toys was going to be confiscated, they would hide them in their mouths. And they had just found out that the institution was going to get rid of the TVs. And they didn't want that, and they couldn't hide the TVs in their mouths. So one of them had the great idea to hide them in their stomachs, because that's the only place they could fit. Mind you, these kids are a little bit not all the way there. So they came up with a plan to rip their insides out in order to fit the TVs inside and hide them. They tried it, and the next morning, the caregiver walked in on all 4 children, dead.
These are facts about Halloween that I bet
Dark
you didn't
Origins.
know. Up first, Halloween is extremely old. Halloween is thought to have originated in 4000 BC, which means Halloween has been around for more than 6,000 years. This is extremely crazy, and I never knew it was this old. Up next, jack-o'-lanterns are actually named after a stinky man named Jack, who, because he tricked the devil several times, he was forbidden access to heaven and hell. He was then condemned to wander Earth, waving his lantern to lead people away from their paths. Next up is a pretty crazy statistic. Americans alone will buy more than 600 million pounds of candy on Halloween. I don't even know why there is this much candy available to buy. And the crazy thing is, I guarantee all this candy gets eaten.
Man, I didn't know Halloween was that old, bro. 6,000 years? How old are the other holidays? Before? He's sitting up.
The strangest places in the world, part 1. Firstly, on top of a hill in Pennsylvania, some stones can be found that shouldn't actually be there, because there's no nearby high terrain where they could have originated. These are called the ringing rocks, because whenever something hits these stones, they make a strange ringing noise. Next is the petrifying well in England, where water flows from a rock and turns whatever it touches into stone. As you can see, people often leave items like hats, teddy bears, or even bicycles, which appear to have already been turned into stone. Some people believe there's a mystical power, but the scientific reason behind this is the unusually high mineral content in the water, which forms a hard mineral shell on any object it comes into contact with. And within a few months, everything essentially becomes a stone statue.
This is the power of time. These are the footprints of the monk Ha-Chi. He stood in his temple for so many years that the floorboards warped around his feet. He prays over 3,000 times a day and always stands in the same place. This bronze arm was attached to a tree when it was just a baby. It was attached in 1968 and the tree actually grew around it. And today the arm is permanently attached to the tree. And this is a corner of a bike store that's been around for over 50 years. Customers park there every day and it's been wearing down ever since.
Hell in Different Religions, Part 2.
Time is powerful.
Buddhism. In Buddhism, after you die, you can be reborn into one of the 6 realms of reincarnation. Which realm you'll be put into depends on your actions in your previous life. The lowest realm possible is the realm of Naraka, which is hell. Now, there are different Narakas you can be put into, it just depends on how bad you were in your previous life. Each of these Narakas having vastly different punishments, and the climates in the different Narakas can range from incredibly cold to boiling hot. But the time spent in Naraka is never eternal. Once you've served your punishment, you'll be reborn once again. But the time one does spend in Naraka can be hundreds of millions of years, or well beyond that.
That long down there? Hundreds of millions of years?
The Muffin Man is actually a serial killer. You know the Muffin Man nursery rhyme, right? But did you know it was based on a dark, true story? 1 second. Chocolate chip. Tastes like your mama wanted. But yeah, the story is darker than you think. Because in the 1800s, there was a man named Frederick Thomas Linwood. And he would wait lurking in alleys, looking for his next victims. And they would always be kids. You see, he would kidnap them and unalive them, luring them in with muffins. I mean, what kid wouldn't want a tasty snack? When the townspeople got word of what was happening, they decided to come together and figure out a way to prevent this, to spread awareness amongst the kids and keep them safe, warning them about the Muffin Man, who was a danger on Drury Lane. You're walking past the alleyway, and the Muffin Man gets you. Your fourth act sees this and tries to rescue you. Let me know who it is, and let me know if you think you'd be doomed or not. Anyways, he's one of the first documented serial killers in the world. And everyone still teaches this song to their kids, even children TV shows. And yet, nobody knows that...
The Muffin Man? You know I know the Muffin Man because of Shaq. The Muffin Man? They found out that it really was a dark origins. The first documented, you know what, man? Oh, they put this stuff in our medias when we're kids and things, but like I said, we never notice it, man. Once you grow up, bro, you realize your childhood is very different.
You won't believe this little boy actually exists. This boy, Nanyo Sui from China, was born with glowing eyes. People were curious why his eyes glow blue, so they ran a test on him. They put him in pitch black with cards and a note, and he read them perfectly. His eyes seem to have a genetic ability of cats and other nocturnal animals. Scientists have been a little skeptical, but people say he can see in full darkness perfectly, like a superhero.
Damn. You got night vision, bro.
In the year 2067, you'll have to pay for oxygen or suffocate to death. This movie is called 2067 and we have to talk about it. It's set in the future after climate change destroyed all plants on Earth. In Australia, only one city survived. And that's because of a company called Chronocorp Corporation and they make artificial oxygen. But breathing in this artificial oxygen causes a strange sickness over time. Here's where the main character Ethan White comes in. He's a mechanic at the company, but one day everything changes. The leader of the company calls Ethan into their lab and revealed this giant machine. She says Ethan is the only person who can stop humanity from going extinct and Ethan is confused. Then we see Ethan has like a weird device on his wrist. And we find out 20 years ago his dad put that device on him for an experiment and never told him. Turns out this machine is actually pretty much a time machine. And it sent back a secret message from the future. When they decoded the message, they realized it said send Ethan White. Ethan obviously does not want to go, but his wife is sick from breathing in too much artificial oxygen, so he finally agrees, leaves her a note, and goes into the time machine to be sent to the year 2474. When he gets here, he realizes all the plants have been restored, but no humans are anywhere. Then he finds a locked door with a skeleton in front of it. As he looks closer, he realizes the skeleton is himself. It even has the same wrist device, except the light has turned green. So why did his dad actually put that device on him all those years ago? And why is he the chosen one to save humanity? There's a huge plot twist in the end, and I just thought this story was so interesting. So go watch it and let me know what you think. And follow for more movies and stories.
Should I check that out, man? That actually piqued my interest. I wonder what that plot twist is, man. Any of you seekers actually watched that movie 2067? I'm gonna have to check that out.
3 extremely disturbing facts you won't believe are actually true. Number 3. In a bizarre case, an Ohio man was mistakenly declared dead by the Social Security Administration in 1979. Upon discovering this error in 1994, he immediately initiated legal action to restore his status as a living person. However, a judge refused to overturn the decision, stating that there was a 3-year limit to challenge such a declaration.
What?
As a result, this man is legally living as a deceased person in his own country. Number 2. There's a disturbing practice at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. The chicks that hatch live in front of visitors in their chick hatching exhibit are then sent to the Brookfield Zoo where they are fed to predator animals. This is a shocking truth hidden behind a seemingly innocent exhibit. Number 1. Disneyland and Disney World are iconic places, often associated with joyful family memories. However, there's a strange phenomenon that occurs in these parks. People so frequently scatter the ashes of their loved ones there that Disney had to establish a special procedure to deal with it. A dedicated team is ready to intervene as soon as an ash scattering is reported, cleaning up the area to maintain the park's joyful atmosphere.
Here's some facts that'll make you smarter. Part 1. Bananas are not actually fruits, they're herbs. And this is because the stem of the banana is succulent and not wood. Scientists say that it's less likely to rain on a Monday than any other day of the week. Reason is that Mondays carry less pollution over the weekend. If you drop a piece of toast, it'll almost always land butter side down. Try this one out and let me know. And finally, the hardest language for an English speaker to learn is Japanese, Chinese, Arabic, or Korean.
Oh, really?
Scary facts that will make your skin crawl. PT.3. If you're wearing earplugs listening to music, and you hear someone calling you or the door knocking, there is no one calling. It's the ghost informing you of their presence. The inventors of the Ouija board claim it got its name when they asked it what it should be called. They also asked it what Ouija meant, and it replied, "Good luck." If you're walking and you feel someone behind you, it's a ghost looking at you. The human body can feel the presence of ghosts.
I think I felt something like that before, man. When somebody's staring at you, but you can't identify what it is. I feel like a chill down my spine. Is this cap a fact, man? They put a GoPro on a shark? But that is true, man. Like how, isn't it scary how they said like 80% of our ocean is like undiscovered, or we haven't even like reached the full potential of it yet? So there's things down there that we don't even have no idea what it is. If you think about it, man. Something to think on. We hear that? I'm hitting the jets. I'm out.
Today I learned that if your parent calls you by your sibling's name, it's not because they're playing favorites, but rather it's a cognitive glitch. This misnaming phenomenon is due to our mental semantic network categorizing people into different social groups or relationship ponds, according to a 2016 study published in the Memory and Cognition Journal by Samantha Deffler. When I say spoon, you might think of a fork. Similarly, when a mom calls for her daughter, the concept of her daughter is also linked to her son, so she may accidentally call her daughter by her son's name. It was also found that some family members accidentally call each other by their family's dog's name. Deffler also recalls one young man accidentally calling his girlfriend by his sister's name, to which the girlfriend responded, "That's probably a bad sign." Misnaming also occur phonetically when initial or internal sounds sound the same, like John, Johnny, or Bob, but physical appearance and gender was proven to not be a factor. So next time someone calls you by a different name, don't take it personally, but it does give you a clue that your name belongs to a certain relationship pond in that person's mind. Alright, that's all. This is Shanksta, over and out.
This
interesting
shows
facts.
different sizes of animal eggs. We're starting off with really tiny eggs.
Okay.
So obviously, these ones are no bigger than a Tic Tac. But don't worry, guys. We're gonna get much, much bigger.
Wow, okay.
Platypus, I didn't know platypus had really tiny eggs.
Damn.
Sea turtles, yes, okay.
American robins,
Quail
quail.
eggs. Now, have you guys tried quail eggs? I definitely have, and they're very, very tasty. Chicken eggs, the average, that's the standard.
That's
for
the
eggs,
biggest
right?
one.
Crocodile eggs, they look like Tic Tacs, honestly.
Kiwi,
Kiwi eggs,
damn.
how do they even come out of that? Of the kiwi
A
bird?
flamingo, I'm guessing.
Dragon eggs, I didn't know they existed. Okay, I thought it was a mammoth and mammoth could lay eggs, but obviously it don't. It was a mammoth bird.
Xenomorph, what the f?
Getting in territories where these animals don't exist, and Godzilla egg is taller than a human.
What the hell?
Personas que ganaron superpoderes después de trágicos accidentes. Parte 2. Natasha Delkina, una mujer rusa nacida en el año 1987. A los 10 años tuvo que ser operada de apendicitis y eso cambió completamente su vida. Después de la operación, Natalia afirmaba que tenía visión de rayos X. Como nadie la creía, unos médicos la llevaron a un hospital de niños para ver si sus poderes eran reales. Para sorpresa de todos, diagnosticó correctamente a todos los niños. Su visión de rayos X era real. Ahora se dedica a ayudar a las personas y a los médicos a encontrar enfermedades. Cuando Ben Underwood nació, parecía un chico completamente sano, pero a los 3 años, por culpa de una enfermedad, le tuvieron que extirpar los 2 ojos. Pero a partir de ese suceso desarrolló la ecolocalización. Ben podía ver a la perfección con sus oídos y podía hacer cualquier tipo de cosa como una persona sin problemas de visión.
I know those are all people with, I guess, new abilities and something that they had gained. You piecing together the story, Seekers, man. We learned that skill together. If you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker, seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support, man. Make sure you guys comment down below. Follow me on my social medias. Subscribe to the channel. You guys gonna catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.